people enter into thy chambers and shut the doors about me. I myself, as it were, for a little moment in the indignation, heal the past. For behold, Yahweh cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood and shall no more.
Hello, good day. Welcome to Line by Line Bible Studies. We're continuing our study today in the book of Job. Let's just begin. We can talk about other things once we finish reading. My breath is corrupt. My days are extinct. The graves are ready for me. Are there not mockers with me? And doth not mine eye continue in their provocation? Lay down now. Put me in a surety with thee. Who is he that will strike hands with me? For thou hast hid their heart from understanding. Therefore shalt thou not exalt them. He that speaketh flattery to his friends, even the eyes of his children shall fail. He hath made me also a byword of the people, and aforetime I was a tabret. Mine eye also is dim by reason of sorrow, and my members are as a shadow. Upright men shall be astonished at this, and the innocent shall stir up himself against the hypocrite. The righteous also shall hold on his way, and he that hath clean hands shall be stronger and stronger. But as for you all, do ye return and come now? For I cannot find one wise man among you. My days are past, my purposes are broken off, even the thoughts of my heart. They change the night into day. The light is short because of darkness. If I wait, the grave is mine house. I have made my bed in the darkness. I have said to corruption, thou art my father. To the worm, thou art my mother and my sister. And where is now my hope? As for my hope, who shall see it? They shall go down to the bars of the pit, when our rest together is in the dust. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite, and said, How long will it be ere ye make an end of words? Mark, and afterward we will speak. Wherefore are we counted as beasts, and reputed vile in your sight? He teareth himself in his anger. Shall the earth be forsaken for thee? And shall the rock be removed out of his place? Yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straitened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. The gin shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. It shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors. It shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. His roots shall be dried up beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and shall have no name in the street. He shall be driven from light into darkness, and chased out of the world. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, and nor any remaining in his dwellings. They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, as they that went before were affrighted. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not God. Let's see what Job has to say that, even though we're back on 17. The book moves so slowly, it's just sort of like you have to... And we've been away for a bit. Then Job answered and said, How long will you vex my soul, and break me in pieces with words? These 10 times have ye reproached me. Ye are not ashamed that ye make yourselves strange to me. And be it indeed that I have erred, mine error remaineth with myself. If indeed ye will magnify yourselves against me, and plead against me my reproach, know now that God hath overthrown me, and hath compassed me with his net. Behold, I cry out of wrong, but I am not heard. I cry aloud, but there is no judgment. He hath fenced up my way that I cannot pass, and he hath set darkness in my paths. He hath stripped me of my glory, and taken the crown from my head. He hath destroyed me on every side, and I am gone, and mine hope hath he removed like a tree. He hath also kindled his wrath against me, and he counted me unto him as one of his enemies. His troops come together and raise up their way against me, and encamp round about my tabernacle. He hath put my brethren far from me, and mine acquaintance are very estranged from me. Verily estranged from me. He hath put my brethren far from me, and mine acquaintance are verily estranged from me. My kinsfolk have failed, and my similar friends. Blame the glasses, because this is... I'm actually in the sweet spot. And my familiar friends have forgotten me. They that dwell in mine house, and my maids count me for a stranger. I am an alien in their sight. I called my servant, and he gave me no answer. I entreated him with my mouth. My breath is strange to my wife, though I entreated for the children's sake of mine own body. Yea, young children despised me. I arose, and they spake against me. All my inward friends abhorred me, and they whom I loved are turned against me. My bone cleaveth to my skin and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. Have pity upon me, have pity upon me, O ye my friends, for the hand of God hath touched me. Why do ye persecute me as God, and are not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were now written. Oh, that they were printed in a book, that they were graven with an iron pen and lead in the rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God, whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another, though my reins be consumed within me. But ye would say, Why persecute we him, seeing the root of the matter is found in me? But ye should say, Why persecute we him, seeing the root of the matter is found in me? Be ye afraid of the sword, for wrath bringeth the punishments of the sword, that ye may know there is a judgment. Okay, just want to make sure Job didn't, because if Job went on, I was going to read that again. I'm not going to have a study tomorrow, and this week I missed mostly. I thought I was pretty much out of the wrestling season, but I have a wrestler going to the state tournament, And so that's tomorrow. And today, all week I've been preparing for that. But after that, we will have resumed, I believe, very regular studies next week. I don't like breaking from it. I really enjoy Job here. And you see the evolution of Job's argument. He doesn't, like I said, he expresses doubt about the resurrection, but, later on, he's saying, he's revealing the truth. I no matter what happens, I believe, and he doesn't, like I say, he doesn't have the basis. He's like, I know that my Redeemer liveth. And that's a very strong resurrection passage from the Old Testament. See, people, to tell you the truth, this is my first close look at Job in a long time. Because it is a long book. And people always said, stay away from Job. But this passage, because people can't handle the ambivalence. But Job's ambivalence at times about it. They want declarations of faith. But as later on God reveals, Job talks about God right. Funny thing is most pastors don't like Job. I don't think it's because of his friends. I think it's because God backs Job. And like I said, if you look at the ministry of Christ and his parables, Jesus backs Job. In fact, so much of what he was saying just reflects directly when my crown is taken away and replaced with a thorny crown. There's so much of what happened to Job that is just completely reflective of the resurrection. The resurrection, yes, the resurrection and, of course, the crucifixion. There's a crucifixion of Job. And what do they say of Jesus? He was smitten of God. You say, well, that's what they said about him. No, he was smitten of God. The problem is they esteem him smitten of God for his sins, and that it's the sinner that's hanging up there on the cross. If he wasn't a sinner, why would he be on the cross? That's the logic. And that's the logic the friends are following. You are obviously the victim of the wrath of God, so you're a bad guy. Because if you weren't a bad guy, why would, if you weren't a criminal, why wouldn't you be, you wouldn't be here in court, would you? That's why it's so hard for people to get off. People, when they get prosecuted, often get convicted. Because you look awfully guilty because they're accusing you. And so I'm not a big justice, because I know men are not just. I respect the fact that they're trying to do justice, but also I know, that's why I tell people, you want to stay as far away as you can from the wheels of justice. Because they can grind you up. And that's part of what Job's saying is, that's part of what they're saying is like that, the justice is grinding you up. But he's also saying, when he makes that bit about the sword at the end there, that makes me think of like, he that kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. The way you live and the way you judge, with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. It's the same thing. Same idea of reciprocity, being reciprocal. You know what I mean? You reap what you sow. It's a similar concept, different reflections on the same theme. Which is true ultimately. It's ultimately true, but human eyes cannot judge it. Only God can judge it because we do not have his all-knowing, all-seeing, and foreordaining, that this is something that he has engineered. Job's suffering is engineered by God. Now, the devil's the one who does it. God doesn't actually do it to him, but God is ultimately responsible. And Job said, of course he is. Because he said, God, you're protecting Job. He's like, well, he's my servant, Hey, I was trying to show him off to you. He's a good servant, and sure, I protect him. How should one chase 1,000 and to put 10,000 to flight? How is that going to be if God doesn't protect us, if God doesn't hold us up, if he doesn't bear us up into the wings, just like the angels promised, like Satan tempted Christ? He does. But sometimes, because the wicked have to come to the fullness so that they can be judged. And what's the worst thing the wicked could do? Well, slay the innocent, slay the righteous, persecute the righteous. You see, Satan sees Job there, and he envies God's favor and hates him. He wants to hurt him, but God won't let him. But eventually God does let him. You know what I mean? And he does. And Satan goes and hurts him bad. Kills all his kids. Takes all his stuff. And Job still maintains his integrity, and then he smites his flesh. Skin for skin. There's a lot of talk about skin. Hope we can get, maybe the Lord will provide me with some special insight on that. I would be very blessed to have that. Skin. You got a lot of skin. Notice the skin of the teeth. Every time people mention that, they're quoting the Bible, because that's where it comes from. I'm sure there was an ancient saying, right? It's like that ancient meme made it into the Bible, but that's where you heard it from. Maybe, that's where it came from in our culture. A lot of stuff comes from the Bible. People don't even know how much of the Bible is internalized. You reap what you sow. Right? But sometimes there's evil in the world, and men take evil initiative. And sometimes God allows them to do it so that they can show what evil how they can manifest this stuff so that they can be judged also. Because God can restore what was taken. That's the thing about the resurrection, is like, that is the only hope this world has. A resurrection in which all is set right. My Redeemer liveth. I know, and here's the thing, I know my Redeemer liveth. Because when I called on his name, on the name of Jesus, I said, give me my heart's desire. At a particular moment, a particular time, a place, I'd ask him for the Holy Spirit power many times. But that one time, he responded with power. I could feel on my hands, on my lips, on my ears, on my feet. And that convinced me. I was like, I know Jesus is alive because I was talking to him and he did something to me. You say, well, that could be this, that. Yeah, I know it could be this, that. Could have been aliens. It could have been government. It could have been some other thing. There's a lot of explanations that seem more probable, but I choose to believe that actually the divine risen Lord Jesus heard my prayer. He does. And the stories are true. Now, I don't know if, like I said, it doesn't matter to me if Job ever lived. This is a true story. I know Jesus lives. And like I said, did Job ever, if it did really happen, then he probably wrote it. In fact, he even kind of hints at it when he says, that my words were written in a book. Honestly, if this did happen to Job, then Job would have written Job, right? And it's okay to believe, I'm sorry, as cast such down on it, probably makes people turn away from it. But my main point is that it doesn't matter. All right, so let's go through 17, verse by verse. It's a good thing I start recording now. It's a good thing I records actually on the YouTube. It is going, right? Okay. Good. All right. All right, verse 1. My breath is corrupt. My days are extinct. The graves are ready for me. Are there not mockers with me? Doth not my eye continue in their provocation? So, first, my breath is corrupt. When you're sick often, your breath becomes stink, right? And also when you fast, sometimes there's a stink, a different kind of smell, I guess. I don't know. But, corrupt could mean a lot of things. And it means it's not healthy. And, but maybe it's something, again, maybe I'm taking that too literal. In a metaphorical sense, my breath is corrupt. The air I breathe is corruption. You know what I mean? It's like, because again, he's saying, I'm on the edge of, I'm ready to die. My days are extinct. I mean, I'm finished. I don't have any more days. This is it. I'm done. Oh, Bible Hub. I forgot to bring it up. That's one thing I didn't get ready. I just want to check that word extinct. I'm probably not going to bring it up on the screen unless it's really interesting. Strong's King James Version. My breath is corrupt. The word we've seen for what? Okay, that's weird. Extinct? Yeah, fine. Already is a supplied phrase. You will notice in your King James. I don't have the italics right here. like they normally would be. They're often supply things correctly just to help the meaning, the flow, you might say. But this word corrupt is interesting just because it came up with something different. To bind, pledge, or in a sense to destroy, pervert, act corruptly. I think we had this earlier, didn't we? And where was this? Chabal was... it's going to come later anyways. No, we didn't have it earlier. This is the first use of this, okay? So it's not where we have seen. Usage. The word Chabal carries a range of meanings primarily centered around the concepts of binding and pledging, as well as causing harm or destruction. It can refer to the act of taking something as a pledge or security, often in a legal or financial context. Additionally, it can denote causing ruin or acting corruptly, reflecting moral or physical destruction. What an interesting combination of meanings that has. In ancient Israelite society, the concept of pledges, transactions, the broader meaning of destruction and corruption reflect the moral societal decay that the prophets often, the term underscores the importance of it. All right, whatever. Yeah, but when that's applied to breath, you know what I mean? It's interesting because it's like his breath is corruption. Maybe that means every breath brings me closer to death. I think that's the kind of idea of like, it's corrupting me. I breathe, every breath I take is corrupting and ending my, I'm winding down to the end. I think that is the idea he is trying to convey. I just like to try to understand poetically what he means. And, maybe that's not exactly right. The other one just meant to extinguish or extinct, like to be put out like a light, I think. Let me just check that. It said extinguish. Zak, to cry out, to call for help, what, to summon? This is so weird. Look at, I don't know what else to do. My days, and then me, you know what I mean? It says, definition, to cry out, to call for help, to summon. Meaning, to extinguish. Okay. It's a primitive root. To extinguish. Okay, from the New American Standard. The Brown Driver Briggs. This word does not have... This is the only place this word comes in the Bible. This is it. What is... Oh, wait. What is this word? Oh, Zak. Or Za'ak, probably. Crying out. Gestures, tearing clothing. Okay. Huh. But, like, how do they get to extinguished? Oh. To be nifel, to be extinguished. Elsewhere, always, this. Also, so in cognate languages. Probably an error for... So it's... So are they basically saying it's misspelled? That's what it seems like to me. Like, it should be some other word, which means extinguish. Instead, it's to cry out. I don't know. Seems odd. What's weird to me is like the Hebrew verb uzak primarily means to cry out or call for help, often in a context of distress or urgent need. It conveys a sense of desperation and earnest appeal, typically directed towards God or a figure of authority. The term is used to express a deep emotional plea, whether due to personal affliction, communal distress, or a call for divine intervention. Not a word about this extinguish, which drives me nuts. But, Strong's Concordance says no. It just means to be extinct, to extinguish. What, does it mean to blow out instead of to cry out or something like that? Like from the of the birthday candles or something? I know they didn't have birthday candles. All right, whatever. It's just whenever I see something like that, I have to show it to you because I don't know what to say. I tell you, if I don't get any phone calls in the next half hour, that'll be great. Because I may have to cut the study short because of obligations if that happens. All right. And this would be very short. It'll be like a redo. Let me take a different take on it. So my days cry out. Like in distress. My days are ending. I don't see any problem with that either, but whatever. It means extinguished. Trust me. Trust us. I've always trust them. That's the thing is you got to kind of trust other people who a lot of them all agree together. Okay, that's what it means. Are there not mockers with me? We have mockers present. It must be the end. The mockers have come. Of course, remember Jesus, they mocked him. His breath, the death rattle. My wounds stink and are corrupt. That's a different thing. That's from sin. But Jesus, it wasn't his breath, but whatever. The idea is like dying. My breath, well, like I said, my breath is corrupt. Like I said, I take that more as like it's killing me. Breathing. In fact, you think about Jesus on the cross, breathing, it was very difficult when you're hanging on a cross. The idea of my breath being somehow bound, and all that. That definitely fits in with the idea of crucifixion, the idea of binding and all that stuff. And corrupting from the sense of squeezing. His breath was not, like, I think about the sense of when you're having trouble breathing. What if that was the way of saying, I'm having trouble breathing. My breath is corrupt. Ooh, my breath is corrupt. I have some pain in my chest when I inhale deeply. I mean, maybe that's the kind of thing, because he's sick with sores and stuff. And Jesus hung on the cross. He would have felt that because his lungs were filled with fluid eventually. My breath is corrupt. My days are extinct from shock and stuff like that. That's why the water poured out. My days are extinct. The graves are ready for me. They made ready the grave. He made his tomb with the rich. Nicodemus had already had a tomb prepared. He didn't even know he was going to put him in that tomb. But he had it. It wasn't Nicodemus, I'm sorry. It was Joseph of Arimathea. But he and Nicodemus went together to beg the body of Jesus. Two very influential men whom Pilate would hear, and the Sanhedrin also are, they're among them, some of them. Nicodemus being one of that Pharisee who came and saw Jesus by night. They mocked and they jeered at the Lord. Doth not my eye continue in their provocation? I think that means I keep seeing it. I like that. My breath is corrupt. What we finally got to. That was worth spending like so much time on, because I really think I got at it there. Lay down now. Put me in a surety with thee. Who is he that will strike hands with me? Strike hands is like we shake hands. We put our hands together to put a deal. Who will make a deal with me? Again, they, imagine, it's like, you understand that for some people, being in a bad situation, it makes people uncomfortable. You tell them you got trouble, they're not comfortable with that. I know, I raised my children in poverty, and very few people want to hear about your troubles. And I don't, that's why I don't go around hanging it out. And also I don't want to be a money grubber and like asking people for money. And we always, I always hate it. And having to accept any sort of help at times, it can be very unpleasant. So you try to avoid it. What was I getting at? Whatever. Oh, but, people disassociate themselves from people they consider to be failures in life, or having hard times, or going through hard times. When people, when you're having hard times, they say, what do they say? Well, you find out who your real friends are. Job's finding out he has no real friends. Unfortunately, except the Lord, his Redeemer, his only friend. And his only friend is just let him get his rear end whooped by Satan. He just let it happen. And he didn't have to let it happen. He let it happen because he was proud of Job. you know, because he loves Job. It's a weird thing. Why did that child have to suffer those horrible things? Because God loved that child. And that evil person had to do that so they could offend God enough that he would throw them into the lake of fire. Because, you know, sinners ought to deserve what they get coming. I mean, what I mean, when they, you know what I mean? It's like, because ultimately, since the wages of sin is death, it's appropriate that they be very worthy of it. You know, when people do things that are very worthy of death, they can be assured of their fate. So, because of the assumption of his being afflicted, and he's not even denying, yeah, God's doing this to me. He affirms this. God has unleashed all his weaponry against me. And they say, well, you must have done something bad. And so no one, who will shake hands with a pedophile? You know what I mean? And he is looked at with all of the bad things that happened to him. Like I said, Job, where you got kids in cages somewhere or something? Because like this is so bad which has happened to him. And so obvious. Like, look at, God is angry with you. Look at yourself. You're covered in sores. Your family's dead. All your posterity is cut off. This is what happens to the wicked. Exactly. Who's going to shake hands with Job? They'll spit on his hands. For thou hast hid their heart from understanding. He's talking to the Lord. And then he's sort of thinking to himself, therefore shalt thou not exalt them. See, they don't know the truth. When people don't know the truth and they don't act, here's the thing, by their fruits you will know them. You know, he's like, hey, if I saw someone this happened to, I would have pity on them. Or at least he thinks he would. You know, I mean, you know, walk a mile in another man's shoes. But the thing is, I'll tell you what. It's one thing to claim to do what you would do when you're down and out. Because who knows? If you haven't been down and out, you don't really know. Some people do give up. It's another thing, you know, when you're riding fat and high. You know, when you're high on the hog, everything's going right. Oh, I would this, I would that. Until you start losing things. You know? Like I said, I haven't talked about the pandemic much because it's pretty much over, but during some of those lockdown features and the mask mania and all that stuff, deciding to refuse to play along, it wasn't terribly hard, but it definitely made me uncomfortable. It made people dislike me and give me dirty looks, and I got yelled at by some people. There, you know, and you see people don't understand, and they're just behaving like a mob. You know, they just, also, you know, you're down and out. You must have done something bad. God, it's so obvious that God's punishing you. Again, and what happens? Job understands this. It's almost like his meditation. You've hid their heart from understanding. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They need to be forgiven because they're in deep trouble. The reason Jesus says that is bless them that curse you. Because even if God doesn't do that, it's like that's what the righteous do. They don't understand. And if they don't understand, that means God is not on their side. Oh, I feel so sorry for them. They have no understanding. They don't understand. They will, you know, the smoking flax, they stomp on it. The broken reed, they crush. But a broken reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. That is our Redeemer. They don't understand that. You don't kick people when they're down. You don't say, oh, well, God wills it. Obviously, this is fate. This evil has come upon them for their sins. Do you know why the Tower of Siloam fell on those people? Because they were the most sinful people in that town. That's the logic. Oh, wow, look what bad thing happened to them. It goes down to the time of Jesus. It was already explored in Job, but they still don't get it. People are just like the apostles asked Jesus. They were his apostles. Who sinned? This man or his parents that he was born blind? They still had that nonsense in their heads. Neither he nor his parents. Nobody sinned. It's for God's glory. Sometimes that's what it is. Why did Job suffer? For God's glory. And his own glory, ultimately. God always shares. That's the cool thing. When God causes you to suffer at the hand of the wicked so that they can be condemned, and you're his righteous suffering servant, you inherit the same glory that Jesus inherits. You sit down with him in his throne. You rule them with a rod of iron. You take on all the blessings and gifts that God has promised the Son because God adopts you as his son. When you're suffering for no reason, but because you're innocent, God has brought all this upon you. Maintain your integrity because God loves you no matter what. There's nothing that can separate you from that. Height, depth, length, breadth, tribulation, persecutions. You think all those bad things that can happen. Painful sores. Doesn't mean God doesn't love you. But when he hides understanding from us, I need my eyes opened. I'm glad he reveals more and more understanding and doesn't take it away. He that hath shall be given, and he shall have the more abundance. But he that hath not, from him shall be taken even that he seemeth to have. That's Luke's version, which is my favorite. He that speaketh flattery to his friends. And the wicked are to be pitied, because they have no understanding. They will not be exalted, not like we will, because we have understanding. He that speaketh, he that hath an ear, let him hear. He that hath eyes to see, let him see. That means about understanding what you hear. They don't understand, but you do. He that speaketh flattery to his friends, even the eyes of his children shall fail. He understands. It's not that they should flatter him. That's something to overcome too. Right? Job doesn't want to be flattered. And certainly, he's not going to flatter them. Why is it the eyes of his children shall fail? Their vision. Well, I would think of it like this: the type of person that flatters his friends. What is the type of person who flatters his friends? Well, the type of person who flatters anybody, a flatterer, is usually seeking some sort of gain, right, by flattery. They seek to improve their own status, usually with the person they're flattering, right? You tell someone something nice about them to try to make them like you. A lot of guys, like, you see a pretty girl, you compliment her in the hopes that she might like you for complimenting her or whatever. I mean, it's not a good approach necessarily for that, but it's just something that people do. Right? Like I said, I don't think flattery is not a good approach. It's good to speak good words to people for good things that they've done good and to fill it up. But exaggeration and flattery it's a form of corruption. It's a corrupt behavior. So it's someone who behaves corruptly towards his friends. And what is he likely to do with his kids? Oh, you're the best, Tiger. You should win every time. What is that going to do to that kid's mind growing up? Oh, I say you're the best, but they're not. Now they might realize they're not, or they might be infected with that. Maybe they're pretty good, and they start becoming narcissistic. And then when people are narcissistic, their vision fails. They only see themselves. Narcissists, in the Greek legend, from which we get the term narcissism, he was famously entranced by his own reflection and was stuck looking at it. And and so we get the idea of narcissism, someone who's reflecting on themselves. See, someone who flatters other people is really trying to exalt themselves. You know, it's always, they corrupt people by flattery. And when you hear flattery and take flattery and allow it to corrupt you, you become like them. It's hard when, rightful praise is okay, but you should never be too eager to hear too much praise. Because while it can build you up somewhat, too much of it can make us become puffed up, because the praise is outstripping the actual value of what we've done, And so don't be inflated falsely by flattery, and try not to inflate others by flattery. It's a corrupt thing to do to people. Like, if it works, you're not doing them or yourself any good, and it's this corrupt impulse. And so while they don't understand, to them it would be flattery to say to him, to start comforting him, I guess. So I don't know. He hath made also me also a byword of the people. And aforetime I was a tabret. I like that. Do you get the meaning? He had made me a byword. That means, people say, like, well, wow, did you hear what happened to Job? Like Job, just a byword. Like Judas Iscariot, I don't even have to tell you. I can say Judas. Like, say, he's a Judas. Everyone knows what you mean. Traitor, right? He's a Job. Afflicted, suffering, And for what? Well, we don't know. But it must be terrible. It must be terrible for all of his children to be killed. For all of his flocks to be stolen. And then the coup de grace. His flesh is smitten. God himself showing his judgment on this one. That's the way his friends are reacting. Some friends. I mean, that's a far away from flattery. I think that's the irony here is he's, hey. And he's sort of saying, hey, he that speaketh flattery is friends. I get it. I know what right and wrong are like. Like he said, I have understanding. You don't have understanding. I'm not asking you to flatter me. And aforetime I was a tabret. What does that mean? What's a tabret? It doesn't really matter because you can figure it out without knowing specifically. It's a particular kind of instrument with these little things. It's a musical instrument. So that's an obvious kind of metaphor, right? I was a musical instrument instead of a byword. I was something that makes me think of, that was Trump before he ran for president. We were like, oh, rich like Trump. I remember people, and they talk all nice things about him. I didn't care. I just remember him being interviewed and this guy and whatever, and his divorces and all this nonsense. Who cares? Tabloid crap, right? Sorry about the vulgarity. Tabloid vulgarity, right? That's what I should just say. Just use the word vulgarity. And but then he said things I didn't like. And he became another thing. And now his name, for some people, is associated with the famous Austrian painter, Adolf Schicklgruber. All right. So, anyways, that's the thing is you can a tabret. I was celebrated. I was a celebrity. In fact, a tabret. What did Miriam do when they came through the Red Sea? She took tabrets and they started dancing and singing. It is a metaphor of celebration. And I think what it literally means, he has made me a byword of the people. And aforetime, I was a celebrity. Because he was the richest man in the East. I don't know why I didn't make this comparison. Sort of, he's exactly like Trump. But maybe not exactly. But as far as the first part, being a celebrated person, yes, right. He was celebrated for much better reasons than Trump was celebrated. In fact, I celebrate him more now for what he's done as president to some degree than anything he did before he became president. He's one of the few presidents in my lifetime that I felt was truly there as a matter of service, even if some of that service is misplaced. I said, if you think there's going to be a panacea president, keep dreaming. That's never going to be among men. The only panacea is Jesus Christ. The panacea means cure-all. There's no one-way fix for men. There's no like, we just do this. Everything will be wonderful. No. A free system is the best system. With a free system with laws that restrict evil doing. As long as the problem is we don't understand what evil is anymore. Evil is someone being white or something. That's evil, apparently. Or whatever. I don't think any of that stuff is relevant. The eyes of his children shall fail. Again, it will affect the children. And he's just giving kind of a proverbial thing. Hey, when you flatter your people, windows up, they go away. Never. When you flatter people, when you do things wrong, it trickles down to your children. A man who doesn't live right. Also, the idea of another thing is, it could be also a metaphor for death. Right? Job's children have died. And he knows this is true. But he does not flatter. I don't know. I'm not going to dwell on that anymore. Let's move on. We got 15 more minutes. He hath made me also a byword of the people. It's 3:40. Nah. Seems like everything's off. Anyways, mine eye also is dim by reason of sorrow, and all my members are as a shadow. And I think that means I don't know what my eye is dim. This is, everything in life looks darker. All the light has gone out of my life. The light of the body is the eye. The light that is in thee be darkness. And all he saw was darkness. All he saw was death. It was like God is killing me. Apparently. He's killed my whole family. I don't know. He probably won't. He said, I want to die. I don't want to do this anymore. And all my members are as a shadow. And when you feel that way in life, it's like, your eye, your member, your physical body, you lose strength and vigor when you have no heart for life, when you have no motivation. Depression is very real. And when something like this impacts you, and Job, he had, I have no doubt, post-traumatic stress disorder after this. You know what I mean? I mean, he came through it all right, but I mean, this is traumatic. If you don't think so, I don't know what you're thinking. Like, are you kidding me? The trauma, and then have people come in and then just lay into you about it. Like, this is your fault. Your children are dead because you're obviously wicked and have angered God. Whoa. Upright men shall be astonished at this, and the innocent shall stir himself up against the hypocrites. The right... Yeah, he's asserting his own position of his own. There are upright men out there. He knows he's one of them. And an upright man would be astonished at this. Like I said, just you think. I have benefit of having studied the Bible for a long time. I haven't always stood up for what was right, in my life, certainly not. Not everything. But, there are some things. Kicking a guy when he's down. If you count yourself upright at all, you should consider that to be like we say, punching down. Punching down It's astonishing when you see it, like for real. The innocent shall stir himself up against the hypocrite. The upright men, men who are innocent, men whose hands are clean of blood, our sins we've washed in the blood of the Lamb. And for him, that was literally a literal animal sacrifice that he hoped God would accept, and which God in his graciousness, in light of the sacrifice of Christ, did accept, because he would provide a more perfect sacrifice that would pay for all. And Job obviously has saving faith. I mean, it's clear in everything he says. As far as I think it requires a lot less than this. Job is one of God's top servants. You know what I mean? So it's like his thing is not at all even near to the line of barely making it. Yeah, hypocrisy. You guys are pretending to be comforters of mourning, and it's like, but no, you're not. You just come here to dunk on me, as they say. As the kids say. I like that, though. I like that metaphor of dunking on someone. Having a slam dunk in a basketball. That kind of, because especially when they do it in a way that it's often portrayed as a sort of humiliation, to be the guy under there on the poster while the guy's dunking. It's like you're down there getting dunked on, and they want, and so it means an opportunistic moment to kick someone when they're down, basically. That's what it kind of has come to mean. Slam dunking the ball is not that, but it has come to mean that. They want to dunk on him. It's real easy to go and dunk on Job. The righteous also shall hold on his way, and he that cleans hands shall be stronger and stronger. The righteous will do the right thing. They'll comfort the suffering. They're not going to lack understanding in these matters. Understand that sometimes God does things and lets things happen to people, and it's not a sin that they've done. It's that the wicked may be judged or whatever. Like I said, Satan wanted to have a Job, and to make Satan as evil as he'd like to be, God said, "That's okay. You go and do that, but don't kill him." Which is I think a foreshadowing of the fact that fear not them that destroy the body, but fear rather him who, after he hath destroyed the body, can destroy both soul and body in the lake of fire. Gehenna, as it is called, of the Lord. The righteous shall hold on his way. Maintain that righteous way, that straight path. You don't want to deviate to the right or the left. But as for you all, do ye return and come now? For I cannot find one man wise among you. I think he's saying, are you going to change your mind? Are you going to repent and come along and do the right thing now? I don't think you guys are as wise as you think you are. The righteous would hold their way and not be you guys are hypocrites. But you do return and come down. I cannot find one wise man among you. Because they say, oh, you must have done something wrong. That's why this happened to me. Not true. Ask God. Okay? You want to say all men are sinners. Yeah, I know. But Job did everything right. He did everything God asked him to. And God, in his grace and mercy, accepted him. Even if it is impossible for the blood of goats to take away sins. It is kind of a joke. But God accepts it. Because he accepts Christ. And accepts your suffering also. Not as payment for your sin, but as glory. Because he's not making Job pay for his sins. That's another point. He's not saying, Job, you got to pay for your sins. Nope. Job took care of his sins. This had nothing to do with sins. Job's paying for his righteousness. Yeah, look at my servant Job. Sometimes that's the price you pay. Because you want to, hey, Jesus said, he that wants to be great among you must become servant. Sometimes servants have the dirty jobs, like, getting crucified. It's not a pleasant thought, but that's the way it goes. And he goes on to his self-pitying here, which is, he has no one to comfort him, no one to explain to him, no one to give him an answer. God will answer eventually. But he's saying nothing he said is wrong. You got to remember that. Like I said, he expresses ambivalence and doubt, but nothing he says about God, or he doesn't accuse God of doing anything that God hasn't done. Because when God comes, he says that no, you got to listen to Job. He speaks about me, the things that are right. My days are past, my purposes are broken. I had things I wanted to do. Now it's just like, who cares? I was going to, build something for the grandkids. Why bother? There will be no grandkids. That's what Job's thinking. I had purposes. I was going to do something this year, but all that involved different things that now can never happen. The thoughts in my heart, the things the future I thought about, I try not to think too much about the future myself. As far as big plans and stuff like that. You don't know how many days you get. It's very important to live now and to not miss out on the life that's happening right in front of you and the opportunities. Later on I'll get to the important stuff. For now, not a good idea. As Jesus said of the householder who built more and more barns to house all his goods so he could be comfortable and take ease and relax. And he said, "Thou fool, this night thy soul is required of thee, and all you've laid in store will go to others." That's life. Never said it was going to be fair. And it isn't. I mean, the greatest thing you could hope for is that God would not be fair. That he would be gracious and merciful. Because fairness is what we will get. But that's the cool thing. That's the worst you will get is something fair. God is not unfair, except to be gracious. That's why I say, well, what about the guy building all those barns? Nobody can get a promise you get to have all that. And life isn't about building bigger barns. While he was building bigger barns, kids were starving. And Job wasn't like that. But he had purposes. Good purposes. I have good purpose. I have things I intend to do. I have plans for the future. Not big, bold plans in defiance of God, God forbid, but things I think will enhance my heavenly reward. That's my plans. It's all the plans I make in the earth, mostly. Other than basic stuff, a few months out, but my plans are to continue to add to the things stored up where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt. But you could see how, but the thing is, while you're working on that in life, you build up this family and there's people in life that's blessings of God. There's nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? Like I said, a family raised in Christ is not something you have to leave for Christ's sake, because it belongs to you because of Christ. That's why he says people who have left family and such that is incompatible with being a Christian will find that being a Christian gives them even more of a family. And it does. But when you lose that, in the earthly sense, it's impossible. You can't take people's natural feelings away from them. They're going to be crushed. Even if you have faith. You have all that. I know I have 7 sons. I mean, come on. I don't like reading Job in that regard. It's like the thought of okay, well, hey, I don't want the east wind to come and blow everything down on me. But if it does, I will not really lose anything. And they will not really lose anything. Because God, though this flesh rot away, yet I will see him with these eyes. See, Job understood the physical resurrection. That it is that this body that was, it's not the same, but it will be the same. It is both the same body, but a different body in that it is changed in nature. A body changed in nature, but not changed in person. The person who you are, the flesh that you were, is the spirit being and spirit body that shall be. Just like a seed planted in the earth. That's how Paul described it. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. But it must be raised. And that's the thing, is like the body may decay, yet with the same eye. That's always been the promise. A lot of people understand, like, as Jesus rose from the dead, he got up out of the grave. People say, well, what if you're all burning ashes? It's like, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, it doesn't matter. Because just like from always, how did God start off making people? Out of dust. It doesn't matter the dust. It's going to be you again. That's the resurrection. You will live again and answer for everything you did in this body. Now, it can be an improved version, especially if you're caught up in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air when he returns. You go up in a much better situation than I presume it would be if at the white throne judgment resurrection. All right. Well, we got to finish this up. It'll just take a couple of minutes. We're almost done. And I don't think there's much. Hopefully we can, let's see. They changed the night into day. Yeah. The thoughts of my heart. My days are past. My purposes are broken off. Even the thoughts of my heart, they changed the night into day. The light is short because of darkness. His eyes are darkening. His days, he sees his life as past. My days are past. My life is behind me. My life is over. My purposes are over. Anything I had ongoing, done. Forget it. All my all his work, everything he was working on is gone. Anyway, it's all been stolen. They changed the night into day. The light is short because of darkness. Interesting that changing. I want him to say changing the day and the night. So it's mean causing the sun to rise, but then the light is short because of darkness, and I guess the days are going shorter and shorter, maybe type of thing. Not sure what he means there. If I wait, the grave is mine house. I have made my bed in the darkness. I have said to corruption, you are my father. To the worm, you are my mother and my sister. I'm going to be worm-eaten. I'm going to be corrupted. My body's just going to wither away. And where now is my hope? What is my hope? He tells us later on. It's that resurrection. I believe I'm going to see him. I'm going to see his judgment, his justice with these eyes. He's going to make this right. This is not the end of the story. I have hope in my Redeemer. But as for my hope, who's going to see it though? It could be, I have no, he believes this, but he doesn't know when Judgment Day is. I mean, think about it. It's been, since Job, it's been way over 2,000 years. I mean, he's right. Who's going to see that? Who's going to see my hope? Who's going to be there to the ends of the world? Because the world has an end. I think we could be approaching it. I do think we are approaching it myself. I'm not saying we are, but I'm just confessing my own thought. I definitely don't try to convince people of that. I'm not predicting anything as far as dates, but, I certainly think I know the days are numbered. The Lord has already said. I just don't know what number we're on. But I think the numbers are few that remain. I think he's saying the night and the days go on, the night is short because the day is short, light is short because, the days just fly by because the day is short. And if I wait, linger in for another day, if I just wait, as night turns into day and my thoughts, I think he was saying, let me look at it. I'm going to look at the NIV really quick before we're almost done, but I just want to see what do they think this means. So it says, here, I'll bring you over. My days have passed, my plans are shattered, yet the desires of my heart turn night into day. I was thinking it's like, the thoughts, they're the ones that turn, right? Okay. In the face of the darkness, light is near. If the only home I hope for is this grave, if I spread out my bed in the realm of darkness, if I say to corruption, you are my father, and to the worm, my mother or my sister, where then is my hope? Who can see any hope for me? Will it go down to the gates of death? Will we descend together into the dust? I like the way they put that, actually. That's why that's why I read the whole thing. I like that. I think that is, though that is an interpretation, mind you. If I say to corruption, because you have to infer that he's speaking it hypothetically. And he is, because he doesn't literally do this, you know what I mean? But it's like, okay, if I go down to the grave, what hope is there? The living hath hope, right? The living shall praise thee. In the grave there is no praise. There is no nothing down there. We know this. And again, a lot of Christians don't believe that. They believe in that basically when you die, it's just a transition from one plane of existence to another. And that the resurrection is just you come back and gather up your body for some reason. I say for some reason because it's like, well, what were you doing all this time? I believe what happens when you die is the next moment you experience is the resurrection. You don't experience the time between. And so it'll be instantaneous. Everyone experiences the resurrection at the same time, just like in the Bible. That's what I believe. I do not believe in the... So what about near-death experiences? Well, they're near-death experiences. They're not death experiences. They're experiences when you're not totally dead. And I know some of them maybe you have visions, of course. You have visions and stuff. It's like God might speak through something like that. I think so. Yes. But it depends on what speaks. A demon might also speak through that. You get close to death. Who knows what's in that, as you're getting close to the door of death. I don't know. I've never been there. Well, yeah, I wasn't really there. They said I would have died if I'd waited 8 more hours or something like that, or 12 hours. Who knows? I was strong and young. But one time I had a bacterial infection that I let go, and it took over my whole arm, and I felt very much like losing consciousness and stuff, and dizzy and all that. And they put me on an IV and told me it was good I came in that night because I might have been dead in the morning. But I didn't experience any near-death experience because I never lost consciousness or anything like that. And even when I dream, I don't dream of the Lord. Some people do all the time, they tell me, which is kind of cool. Because the thing is, I think it's interesting that I don't, and I've believed all my life. Because if I did dream of the Lord, I would think it was real. Because I think it would be. Like if God appears in your dream, you take that seriously. Because, it doesn't often happen. I had one, he didn't appear exactly, but I fell into a trance and he spoke to me, directly into my mind. And when I woke up from the dream, I couldn't remember what he said. That was real cool. I mean, sort of. I would have liked to remember what he said. It was really, I was like, I remember it was like this massive revelation. I was like, it was all gone. All gone. The Lord is, He does things to inspire us to confidence, but also wants to keep us on our toes. Like I said, Job is one of his favorite servants. Remember that. This is what happens, okay? A lot of times people just get in it. I just want the protection. I just want the salvation. I don't want the persecution. The salvation is because we have assented to him. We believe in him. You are Lord. And we will obey you. Because what else does that mean? When you confess Jesus Christ is Lord, I want you to really think about what you're confessing and what the implications of that are. Okay. So I like that, the way their interpretation, and that's kind of the interpretation I'm going with. I like that. Where is their hope? Will hope go down to the gates of death? Will it descend? Will we descend together into the dust? The thing that I hope in, which ultimately, what is this hope? My Redeemer. Will he come with me? Yes. He did. He did. He did. For I am a worm and not a man, a reproach of men and despised of the people. Psalm 22. All they that see me laugh me to scorn. Where are my mockers? They shake their head. They shoot. They saw it the same thing. He trusts in the Lord. We'll let him deliver him. He's out, again, obviously he's a sinner. Why? He's hanging from a cross. He must be a sinner. Cursed be every man that hangeth on a tree. That's what the law said. And that's why Jesus kind of broke the law. He ended it. I have a study or two on that, but he did. He did. He fulfilled it. Just like I said, let's not call it destroy. Let's call it fulfill. And he fulfilled it. All right, thanks for joining me. We look forward to being back again next week. Until then, remember the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy, and he is the fulfillment of the law.
My dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise, awake and sing. It is well in us, for our dew is as the dew of earth, and the earth shall cast up the rough iron. Come, my people, enter into thy chambers and shut the doors about me. I myself is at work for a little moment till the indignation he will pass. For